You're listening to Community Heroes podcast featuring people sharing about their stories with their disabilities. And now for your hosts, Brandon and Pate. Welcome back to Community Heroes podcast. In today's episode, I had the privilege to interview the U.S. Paralympian wheelchair basketball Steve Serio. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you tell us about your disability and what it is?
Yeah, sure. So, to provide a little bit of background, I was born with a benign spinal tumor that went undiagnosed for the first 11 months of my life. And during that time, the tumor became infected and inflamed and crushed my spinal cord, resulting in the incomplete paralysis of my lower extremities. So, living with a disability, it's all I know. That's all I remember.
What is it like living with a disability and what is your everyday life like?
Yeah, so I can tell you, I had a relatively normal childhood. I went to a public school system. I had able-bodied friends. I played able-bodied sports to the best of my abilities. I remember I used to walk with braces and crutches because that's what everybody else was doing around me. I tell people that my childhood was about fitting into a world that was not built for me. And it wasn't until I found adaptive sports, specifically wheelchair basketball, when I was around the age of 14 or 15 years old, where my entire world was opened up to these new experiences, to kids and parents that have had similar experiences to me growing up in an able bodied world. And it was at that point when my true identity really rounded into form. But living with a disability, it's definitely not easy every single day. I currently live in New York City, which is probably one of the least accessible places on planet Earth. So on one hand, it's kind of a constant struggle, but on the other hand, it's made me who I am, and it's made me appreciate the things that I do have. And I would never shy away from my differences. I would never shy away from the things that make me unique and special in this world.
How's that been able to be like obviously living in New York City and having a disability and facing those challenges that New York City especially brings?
On one hand, it's incredibly frustrating to know that this is a really old city with a public transportation system that does not accommodate everybody at all times. Just the fact that, places like restaurants or apartment buildings will say that they're wheelchair accessible, but they have one or two steps to get into the elevator or to get into their building, which is always super frustrating. But on the other hand, I like to look at it that I see the best in my community each and every day. If the elevator is broken, that I have to go, use the subway system, I feel perfectly comfortable asking my fellow neighbor to help me down the flight of steps or to help me up. People are extremely generous and they're extremely helpful. So on one hand, I can look at it as frustrating that this world that I currently live in is not always 100% accessible. But I choose to look at it as, my community helps me in the ways that I need it to. And hopefully, in that moment of need for me, I can open up their world and they can ask me questions about what it's like to live with a disability and be a Team USA athlete in the process. So I just feel like we're creating a more inclusive environment despite those hurdles or those challenges.
What was that like getting started in sports and playing adaptive sports like wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, so I've always been an athlete my entire life. I mentioned growing up, I played able-bodied sports, and we would just tailor the rules so that I could participate. So I was a big baseball player growing up, and basically, when it was my turn to hit, I would step up to the plate, I would hit the ball. One of my friends would run down to first for me, and then I would take his or her place when the play was dead. And basically, that was my world as an athlete. It was fitting into an able bodied world. It was just an opportunity for me to compete with my friends, just to be a part of the group. And then when I was about 12 or 13 years old, the school board basically told me that I wasn't able to compete athletically with my fellow able-bodied friends. They cited safety reasons for me and the other athletes. And to be honest, it was the first time in my life that I ever felt disabled. Here are these people that don't know anything about my abilities. They don't know anything about my desires, basically telling me that I can't play sports anymore with my friends. And that was extremely, extremely frustrating. But I did what any kid would do, and I became the manager. I just wanted to be a part of the group. I became the manager, keeping track and field times on the track and field team. I was the manager of the football team and the basketball team. It was just a way for me to stay involved. And after a year of doing that, I realized that I wasn't born to sit on the sidelines. I needed to find an athletic outlet that fulfilled me in that very specific way. And it was through a physical therapist that I learned that there was a wheelchair basketball team that played 10 minutes away from where I grew up that I never knew about. This was maybe showing my age, but this was before the age of social media and the internet. So it was a lot of word of mouth back then. And I just remember going down to practice for the first time, sitting in a wheelchair for the first time, specifically a wheelchair basketball chair, pushing up and down the court and feeling free from my disability for the first time in my life. I wasn't a particularly huge fan of basketball growing up, but I felt that this was a way for me to show my true self as an athlete. And ever since then, I tell people I haven't left the gym since in close to 20 years. And it's adaptive sports has not only given me everything I have athletically, but it's given me confidence. It's formed my identity, and it's allowed me to be the leader in the space that I hope to be for the future of over the next generation of adaptive sports athletes.
What was that like going to the University of Illinois to play wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, University of Illinois is sort of the birthplace of adaptive sports in this country. Wheelchair basketball was created at the University of Illinois as a way for World War II veterans to help them acclimate back into society. So I felt a deep connection to that history of that university and basically the greater good that they were doing for all adaptive sports athletes. It helped that they were a really good and prominent wheelchair basketball team when I joined, and I was deeply connected to their coach, Mike Frogley, who's kind of a titan of wheelchair basketball in our world. So getting a chance to attend a wonderful university on an athletic scholarship, which is pretty rare for adaptive sports athletes, was a huge honor. And that was the place that taught me that what it really means to be a high performance athlete and a high performance person. To it taught me how to be a leader in the community, how to sacrifice, how to manage my time, and how to give back to the greater good. I would not be where I am today without that launch pad of learning about my sport at a high performance level at U of I, but also rounding into the person that I am today at that university.
Of course, while there, what was it like competing for the national championship?
Yeah, I mean, competing for a national championship is what every athlete kind of aspires to, right? Getting a chance to play in those high pressure games not only helps you become more resilient and be a better athlete, but it shows you what your real priorities are and it shows you what you have inside of yourself. So while we didn't win every national championship game we were a part of, each one of those experiences has shaped me as an athlete and as a leader and as a person. And I'm looking back, I'm just incredibly grateful to be a part of those experiences with my fellow University of Illinois student athletes.
How did your time as a wheelchair athlete in college help you to become a Paralympian?
Yeah, I like to tell people that the University of Illinois was my launch pad to being a Team USA athlete. It was the place where I learned specifically about time management, specifically about the fact that being a Team USA athlete is about more than just your sport. It's about being a leader in the community, and it's about inspiring the people around you, specifically the next generation of athletes, to dream bigger and to aspire to more than what you were able to growing up. Um, Wheelchair basketball community at the collegiate level here in the U.S. is a really, really tight knit and strong community. And without that, I don't think that I would have pursued those dreams of being a Team USA athlete. The collegiate level is where you're able to it's a time during a lot of transitions. You're transitioning, into who you are as an adult, but also who you will become as an athlete, and you start to build those habits throughout those 4 or 5 years that you attend college. So without that, I wouldn't have been able to accomplish all that we have accomplished at the Team USA level.
What was that feeling like the first time you got to put on that Team USA jersey to represent the wheelchair basketball community?
There's nothing like getting a Team USA jersey with your name and number on it. Um, to be honest, when I started as as a wheelchair basketball athlete, I did not have any aspirations of being a Team USA athlete. I did it because it allowed me to fulfill my athletic endeavors. It allowed me to just be the athlete that I always wanted to be. And then when I saw how far it could really take me, um, I jumped at the opportunity. Being a Team USA athlete is about more than just yourself. It's about representing your loved ones, your family, and obviously the people that support you all along the way in this country. And there's no greater feeling than wearing a jersey with those three letters across your chest. Getting my first Team USA jersey, which I still have framed to this day, is something that I'll always remember. Obviously, looking back on the journey and looking at all the successes, that's what people love to talk about. But those small moments that you have with yourself, where you can be reminded of the hard work, the sacrifice, and how far you've come, they're just incredibly special. And that first moment I got that Team USA jersey is a moment I'll always remember.
How have you not let your disability define you into the athlete that you are today?
Yeah, I don't think that disability should be a defining character of anyone, to be honest. I always tell people that I've always tried to use my disability to my advantage instead of shying away from it and trying to become a little bit more able-bodied in this world. I don't hide it. I love the idea of being a wheelchair basketball player versus just an able-bodied basketball player. Every time someone sees me play the game of wheelchair basketball, their world expands. And I love to be an instrument that allows for a more inclusive environment and that allows people to show their allows people to show what's possible in this world. I never tell people that you should be ashamed of your disability. You should never try to hide it because it's part of who you are, and so you should embrace it. You're a beautiful human, and you shouldn't have to shy away from any aspect that makes you who you are. I do it through wheelchair basketball, but there's tons of people that are breaking all of the stereotypes, breaking all of the ceilings of what it means to have a disability, and hopefully creating a more inclusive society for everybody.
In 2008, what was it like joining the wheelchair basketball Paralympic team to go to Beijing?
Joining a Paralympic basketball team is unlike any other feeling. You get a chance to compete for a gold medal doing the sport that you love and around teammates that become more than just teammates. They're your family. We didn't have the success that we wanted in Beijing. We actually finished fourth. I highly recommend that if any of your listeners get a chance to compete at the Olympic or Paralympic Games, that you don't finish fourth. That is not the best feeling in the world, but it provided me with the motivation to continue to work, to continue to sacrifice, and continue to chase down that dream that I set to win a gold medal one day. And I would not be a two-time gold medalist right now if it wasn't for that fourth place experience in Beijing in 2008.
Of course, what was that feeling like being a two-time gold medalist and going to London and Tokyo to compete and win gold?
Yeah, I've gotten the chance to compete in the last four Paralympic Games. Beijing in 2008, like you mentioned, we won bronze in 2012 in London and back-to-back gold medals in Rio and Tokyo. I like to tell people that it's been an upward trajectory for me and for the team personally, just because we've gotten better every single Paralympics that we've been to. But it shows a lot of the resiliency that we've had. It shows a lot of the growth that you have to have, not only athletically, but personally. You have to constantly question, you have to constantly challenge yourself in different ways. And not that you're going to win a gold medal every time, but you're going to become a much more well rounded person and teammate and leader if you constantly challenge yourself and constantly accept the struggle in your everyday life. So I like to point to the idea that we constantly get better each time, and that's a result of a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of leaning on each other.
How is that feeling like getting to put on the Paralympic medals in Rio, London, and Tokyo?
I mean, those medal ceremonies are why we do it, right? Getting a chance to wear a Paralympic medal around your neck is a feeling that is unlike any other. I can tell you that I don't necessarily feel joy during those moments. I really feel relief. It's like you kind of climb to the top of the mountain and you don't really want to look at the view. You just kind of want to collapse and sit there and just take it all in the moment. It's just like a huge weight that's lifted off your shoulders. But one moment specifically stands out to me in Tokyo when we were being awarded the gold medal. Because of COVID, we actually had to take the medals and place them on each other. So the person next to you, like you would put a gold medal on on the teammate next to you, and it's something that I'll always remember because it's not necessarily somebody awarding you with a gold medal. It's one of your teammates giving it to you because we were the ones who accomplished that goal, and we were the ones who were a part of that journey. So to share that moment, I remember that I was given the medal by an athlete named Matt Scott, who is an icon of our sport and one of my best friends in wheelchair basketball. We've been teammates for more than 2 decades, and I got a chance to place a gold medal around my other teammate Nate Hines, who again is one of my best friends and a teammate for a long time. So just having that experience of being able to award our teammates with the gold medal is one that I'll always remember, and a way in a way that COVID has affected us so negatively over the last 2 years, that's a positive that I'll always remember.
What were some of your favorite memories competing in wheelchair basketball, and what were some of your favorite memories competing in the Paralympics for wheelchair basketball?
Um, yeah, I have a lot of great memories competing in wheelchair basketball. You know, looking back on it, getting a chance to compete at the collegiate level is definitely one that stands out. The one that I still use as motivation to this day is losing a national championship game to our rivals, the University of Whitewater in Wisconsin. It was one of those atmospheres where we were playing a national championship game in their home arena, and the place was rocking, and it was just a really iconic game that we didn't end up winning, but it's something that still fuels me to this day, that I still think about each and every workout, even though it happened over 10 years ago, and hopefully propelled me to become a better player, a better teammate, and a better leader. Obviously, winning a Paralympic gold medal in Rio is one that comes to mind. It was our first Paralympic gold medal since the 80s as a wheelchair basketball men's team, and getting a chance to win that medal in front of our friends and family with a packed arena and doing it in the fashion that that team did it in. There's just no group of individuals that I would want to share that moment with more than the people that were a part of that Rio gold medal. So um, those are the two moments that really stick out. But every single moment along the way is a small piece of the journey, and I wouldn't have changed any of them.
Of course, going to the Paralympics, what were some of the challenges you faced while at the Paralympics?
Yeah, every Paralympics has different challenges, different things that are in your control and aren't in your control. I remember in 2008 in China that we were dealing with a lot of the human rights issues that is pretty common knowledge to us here in the States. In Rio, we were dealing with Zika. In Tokyo, we were dealing with COVID. So there's always aspects to being a Team USA athlete that you don't have any control over. And it's important to acknowledge them, but it's also important to not let them distract you from your ultimate goal. And then obviously you have your athletic challenges, right? As a team sport athlete, it's not always about the best 12 athletes that you have on your team. It's about the right 12 athletes, and just getting a chance to grow with your teammates over those 4 years and getting a chance to grow with your coaching staff is it's a wonderful feeling, especially once you've accomplished that goal of winning a gold medal at the end.
Of course, being a Paralympian and representing Team USA, What was it like going to the Paralympic Village and having other people that had the same situations that you had a community at the Paralympics?
Yeah, going to the Paralympics and just being in the village, meeting people from different countries, and just experiencing uh, different journeys that you share in the cafeteria with other athletes is the main reason why I love being a Paralympian. That Paralympic Village is unlike any other because everybody is in the prime of their career. They're in the prime of their life. They're peaking athletically. They're peaking mentally and emotionally. And to share that experience, to see the highs and the lows that every athlete can relate to, um, is is just indescribable. It kind of connects us in a way that is unlike any other. Um, for an athlete who gets a chance to represent his or her country at that level. Even just being there is an accomplishment. And I tell people that it's not always about winning a gold medal. It's about the people that you meet and the experiences that you have along the way that, is ultimately what you're going to look back on and cherish. So that being in that Paralympic village, getting a chance to meet people, that's one of the best parts about being a Team USA athlete.
How's it been like obviously helping those young athletes that want to be in the sports that have disabilities?
Yeah, I've accomplished a lot in this sport. I've accomplished a lot for wheelchair basketball, but the thing that motivates me to this day is making sure that the next generation of adaptive sports athletes is able to dream bigger than I was growing up. When I had found wheelchair basketball, I didn't know it existed. I didn't know adaptive sports existed. And now supplementing platforms like Team USA, like a Toyota, who's a big sponsor of the IOC and the IPC, social media is a way that we can reach, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people instantly, um, just to showcase our abilities and to showcase the idea that disability is not something that has to hold you back. It can be something that lifts you up is so rewarding. To be honest, after Tokyo, I really struggled with my motivation as to why I continue to work so hard and struggle so hard. And I always come back to the idea that it's my job now as the old guy in the arena to give back to the next generation and to make sure that they have the resources, the opportunities, and the dreams to accomplish whatever they want to accomplish in the future.
What has it been like obviously getting to meet your fans and having them that with disabilities know that one day that they can one day become a Paralympian too?
I think the inspiration part of it is why we do it these days, right? It's ultimately being a Team USA athlete. It's just about playing a sport, but hopefully we can have an impact that's greater than just wins or losses, and getting a chance to showcase what is possible, both athletically but also personally, and to see the growth of not only wheelchair basketball but adaptive sports in general in society and creating those opportunities for people with disabilities is why we do it.
What are some of the things that you've done to give back to the disability community as a wheelchair basketball player?
So I am pretty prominent on social media, and I like to showcase the things that are possible. I don't always show the highlights of what goes on, but I like to show the journey and the day to day grind of what it means to be a Team USA athlete. I work with the Challenge Athletes Foundation. That is a national nonprofit that works to remove some of the financial hurdles associated with being an adaptive sport athlete. For instance, an able-bodied athlete can just put on a pair of sneakers and they can go out and play the sport that they love. For us, we need a wheelchair. We need a sports wheelchair in order to, you know, play the sports that we love, and those can run anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, $10,000. So that not national nonprofit works to remove some of those financial hurdles associated with adaptive sports. I'm also a member of Team Toyota, who believes that when you remove the hurdle of um, when you create mobility, when you create the freedom of movement, it's not only about moving from point A to point B, but it's about unlocking someone's true potential. So supplementing their relationship and supplementing and using their platforms to grow the sport of wheelchair basketball, but also all the adaptive sports at the Paralympic level has been extremely rewarding. So hopefully I'm creating a positive example for the next generation of athletes to dream bigger, to want more, to demand more from this life.
How's that been like, obviously helping, as you said, those athletes that can't afford, obviously, the wheelchair that wheelchair basketball accepts, how's that been like, obviously helping them get the funds and creating the funds to obviously get that wheelchair that is adaptable for wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, on one hand, it's extremely rewarding because my entire world changed the moment I stepped into a wheelchair basketball chair for the first time when I was, when I was 14. That world, when that world opened up to me, it completely changed my life in a positive way. And I never want there to be a reason why someone can't pursue those dreams, especially if it comes down to a financial reason. That's why the Challenge Athletes Foundation works with the National Wheelchair Basketball Association to try to remove some of those hurdles associated with adaptive sports. There's always outlets that are willing to help people financially, and I encourage people to reach out if they feel like they need to be connected with ways to remove some of those hurdles.
Of course, for our listeners that don't know, what is the difference between a regular wheelchair versus a wheelchair basketball wheelchair?
Yeah, Brandon, that's a great question. So, my everyday wheelchair, the chair that I use to run errands or to walk around New York City, it's a little bit smaller. It doesn't have wheels in the back. It allows me to have a little bit more mobility, popping up curbs or getting over cracks in the sidewalk. And it doesn't have any straps associated with it, so it's easily transferable. So I can get in and get out of that chair very easily. My basketball sports wheelchair, it has cambered wheels, which means it gives me a little bit more stability and allows me to turn faster. It has straps like seatbelts because I want the chair to respond to my body and my movements as efficiently as possible. It has wheels behind it, so I can't flip over as easily. Anybody who knows anything about wheelchair basketball knows that it's a pretty fast and physical sport, so we still fall every now and again, but it does help us kind of stay upright as much as humanly possible. So there are some pretty key differences to both. Um, and I encourage anybody who hasn't seen wheelchair basketball just to, type it into Google and look on YouTube and watch us go to work.
What advice would you give those college athletes that are looking to play wheelchair basketball?
I always tell athletes these days to embrace their losses, to embrace their differences. I told you that one of the more defining moments of my career is that national championship loss in the University of Whitewater in Wisconsin. And on one way, I could use that to hold me down and hold me back, or I could use that negative experience to lift me up and to motivate me to become a better athlete and a better teammate. I especially for kids in college, um, it's important for them to allow themselves to transform into this awesome person, to never shy away from any experience, whether that be positive or negative, and to use each experience along the way to shape this pretty badass human that they'll become.
How's it been like, obviously, balancing life outside of wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, that's always been a struggle for me. Balancing life away from basketball is something that does not come easily to me because once I have a goal, I devote all of my time and energy to that at the sacrifice of a lot of my loved ones and my friends and family. Um, it's something that I've always needed as a way to kind of remove myself from those goals and remove myself from the wheelchair basketball setting. But it also doesn't come easily. So I always tell people that it's important to always have goals and to chase down aspirations outside of your profession, outside of those athletic goals that you have to make yourself just a more well-rounded person.
What are some of your future plans in the sport of wheelchair basketball?
Yeah, Brendan, I have no idea about that one. I can tell you, I don't know what the future holds, but I'm excited for the impact that I could possibly have down the road. I took this year off from competing, mainly because I just needed an emotional and mental and physical break after the Tokyo Paralympics. But we don't know what's going to be in the future. I have plans to hopefully try to compete and try out for the next Team USA that's going to Paris in 2024. Um, and I want to continue to have that positive impact on social media through speaking engagements, through diversity, equity, and inclusion outreach programs, and to just make sure that everybody, despite anybody's differences or disability, has more opportunities to chase down their aspirations that I had growing up.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to become Paralympians?
For anybody looking to be a Paralympian, I always tell people that, it takes a lot of time, a lot of hard work, and a lot of sacrifice, but you absolutely can do it if you're willing to put in that time and energy. Being a Paralympian is the highlight of my athletic endeavor, and I encourage anybody to chase down that dream, especially if it's something that they really want to work towards. So we don't put limits on life, and anybody looking to be a Paralympian, I just say go after it and don't apologize for it, because it's been one of the highlights of my life.
That's great advice. Where can our listeners find you at on social media?
Yeah, so I'm prominent on Instagram and Facebook. I don't have a TikTok. I'm really sorry, and I don't use Twitter. But Instagram and Facebook, if you just search my name, it'll pop right up. And I encourage anybody to reach out if they have any questions or want to talk further about my journey and some of the things that I've been through. I'm happy to connect, and looking forward to anyone who reaches out.
Thank you again, Steve, for your interview, and best of luck in your future in the sport of wheelchair basketball.
Yep, I appreciate you, Brandon. Thanks for your time.
You can find Community Heroes on Facebook at Community Heroes, Instagram at Community Heroes_NC, Twitter at com_heroes, and you can find us on officially Community Heroes on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Steve Serio, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thanks again, everyone. Take care.
You are watching Community Heroes. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Community Heroes on social media and on YouTube.